Jean Guy Africa, I think the CEO of the Rwanda Development Board, but I'm told represented here. Mr. Stephen Rubiza, trying my best, Rwanda Private Sector Federation. Wycliffe Aganda, Chairman of the Kenya Association of Kenyans living in Rwanda. Our valued partners, sponsors, delegates from Kenya and Rwanda, media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning again. It's really an utmost pleasure for me to be here as a Group Managing Director and CEO of the Nation Media Group this morning to host our first ever event, the Trade Week in Rwanda, which is really exciting as we are enjoying a great sunshine in this beautiful city of Rwanda, of Kigali. In 2019, during the inaugural Kusi Ideas Festival, which was our thought leadership conference, we brought together diverse, influential leaders, innovators, development partners, young entrepreneurs, captains of industry, and heads of state. The goal was to inspire dialogue, shape public discourse, influence policy direction, and develop practical solutions for transforming Africa in the decades to come. We are therefore honored to be back to once again partner with the government of Rwanda through the Ministry of Trade and Investments to host this event. We are truly grateful to the President of Rwanda, His Excellency, President Paul Kagame, and his team for the support and the warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya and Rwanda have long shared a strong and strategic leadership. Our partnerships, one built on mutual respect, shared values, and a joint commitment to economic progress. Rwanda offers one of the most compelling investment climates in Africa. It has enjoyed consistent economic growth and is recognized as the second best country of doing business on the continent and 38th globally, according to the World Bank. With 65% of its population under the age of 30, Rwanda is not only a young and dynamic country, but also has a full entrepreneurial potential. This forum, ladies and gentlemen, therefore serves as a platform to explore this potential further. By bringing together all different players, we aim to spark a meaningful dialogue and partnership in key areas such as attracting and retaining foreign direct investments, promoting local value addition, industrialization, and advancing inter-African trade, and enabling clean energy solutions in the face of climate change. We were just having a dialogue now about how the level of inter-regional trade, and we still think there's great opportunity to increase this. And that's why we think this platform will provide the right business-to-business conversations. Our role as media across the region is really about not just about storytelling, but it's how can we facilitate dialogue, convene stakeholders, and amplify the voice of Africa. In Nation, our vision is to be the media for Africa. With 30 content products across 4 countries and a digital footprint reaching 60 million users each month, we are committed to ensuring that Africa's stories are told by Africans and for Africa. Our flagship regional publication, The East African, has been at the forefront of promoting regional integration through in-depth analysis of political and economic trends. This Trade Week, therefore, is part of our broader effort to use our convening power to bring together investors, entrepreneurs, together so that we can shape the future of our continent. I'm really happy to note that this event is not just an event that we thought of. It's actually coming from a context, and Sogoti, my colleague, was able to share with us how it all started. And so we're continuing with this, doing it in different countries, and Rwanda is now where we are today. So we've done this, for instance, we hosted the Invest Somalia Conference Expo in Mogadishu, where we showcased the country's untapped potential. We did a Kenya-Somalia Trade Week in Nairobi earlier this year to catalyze the new business ventures and partnerships. So once we start, we don't leave it there, we do a follow-up. So we did an event in Mogadishu, we came back and did one in Nairobi. And then in 2023, we also brought business leaders and policymakers for the East Africa Business Summit and the East Africa Entrepreneurship Expo in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, ladies and gentlemen, we host these forums because we believe that the time for Africa is now. This event is more than just a business forum. It is a vision of what our continent can become if we collaborate across borders and sectors. It is my hope, therefore, that by the end of this event, we will reaffirm our commitment, not just to trade and profit, but to share growth and inclusive progress and the vision of a truly interconnected African continent. So as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being part of this journey and for believing in the African promise. We'd like to have more of these conversations. We'd like to see business partnership flourish, and we'd like to see how our future can grow together as we aspire to take Africa to its next level. Before I wind up, I want to thank the Rwandan government again, our ambassador for the close collaboration, and our Kenyan diaspora. I understand it's over 10,000 strong and growing. And I want to say that we'll continue as Nation Media Group to really bring and amplify a lot of what you're doing here. We believe that beyond just our storytelling role, we've got a big convening role, and we'll continue to do more of these events and provide more to B2B platforms for us to engage. So thank you again for hosting us. I'm trying to wind up with a very good way to say bye in Kinyarwanda. It's called Murokoze Siane. I trust I have said it. So thank you very much. God bless you, and I wish you all a great day. Asante sana.
A lot of times, we're independent countries. Rwanda has its own ambitions. Kenya has its own ambitions. So is Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and the DRC. Somalia also, joining the EAC. How do we still ensure that even as Rwanda, for instance, or Kenya is trying to aim for its national interest, that we're also collaborating along the way, even as we try to have self-determination as sovereign countries?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. As far as Rwanda is concerned, but also when it comes to regional integration, each country has sometimes a lot of, they try to resist or maybe protect their countries in terms of product. But with the liberalization of the EAC and AFCFTA, each country must definitely protect their entrepreneurs, their traders, but with the regional bloc, there is also flexibility. So the country tries to align the trade policies, harmonization of standard, and other reforms to make sure that we can access the regional market, international market, but also diversify our product. So when it comes to the regional bloc, there is a lot of opportunities in cross-border, in digitalization, in exporting to different markets. So the EAC has set a good example for other regional blocs, but for us to have the AFCFTA implementation completed, then we need to also look at different reforms that are being implemented and put up front to make sure that we can access the market, but also strengthen our bilateral trade.
There's growing rise of protectionism. You'd go back to Brexit when it happened around 2016, the big push. We've seen President Trump come, America first. There's a lot on the globe of people trying to protect their own and putting themselves first. How do we ensure then the same doesn't creep in? Because a lot of times we see, things start at the international global level and then they spill over into our emerging and frontier economies. How do we ensure that we'll not get caught up in what's the global wave of protectionism here?
Yes, every country is try to protect, as I said, their entrepreneurs and traders. As far as the EAC is concerned, and as I said, we need to coordinate and align, but also be flexible in our trade policies, reforms, but coordination also while trading. So with, let's say, the EAC, we have the Customs Union. We have the digitalizations where you can send your goods and know where they are. You can track all your goods. But being flexible and also aligning at a regional level, there is a need to coordinate between countries. So if, let's say, we know there are all these global things that are happening here and there, so we need to make sure that our countries are aligned. We put together our trade policies, how we can trade between countries, how we can make our supply chain more fluent, like it's like easy to trade between our countries. Let's say for Rwanda, we are landlocked, so we only have Mombasa and Dar es Salaam to bring in our goods or export our goods. So we need to make sure that we are in agreement. Our national policies aligns with what Kenya has. So it's not only that we look at national level, but we have to make sure as a landlocked country, we have to make sure that we align also to what Kenya has in the pipeline, what they are targeting in their trade policies or logistics, so that we can trade easily. So coordinating and making sure that we align together can make really easy the trade between the countries, but also you know that with the good relationship that we have, let's say with Kenya, there are some plots that we have in Kenya where we can like construct our logistic facilities to ease trade and ease the congestion in Mombasa, so that our product can easily reach the country. But also Kenya and Rwanda have we've made sure that the corridor that we use, the logistic facilities, transport, roads, railway, it's well equipped. So the relationship that the country has and what we are doing to make sure that trade is easily done is there. And I hope that from here we can know the trade opportunities that are here in the country, but also strengthen our bilateral trade. We can invest in Kenya, we can invest here in Rwanda, and make sure that our trade is really strengthened by what we have and what the opportunities that we have in the East African community and the AFCFTA.
To Mr. Kennedy. And non-tariff barriers, in setting the context, I did describe the rise over the past year of non-tariff barriers between member countries in EAC. I know we've concentrated a lot on US tariffs and whatnot, but under has been bubbling a lot of non-tariff barriers. You know, many times you wake up to headlines of, you know, either goods can't come from Tanzania into Kenya, something at the border between Rwanda and Uganda or Kenya and Uganda. Why is this the case? Why are we still seeing, despite knowing the importance, you know, most of our trade is with our trading partners. So it's Rwanda, it's Kenya, Rwanda, it's Kenya, Uganda, it's Kenya, Tanzania, that actually most of our trade is happening. Our imports and exports into the region are even bigger than some of you'd presume to be the bigger trading partners around the world. Why are we still seeing non-tariff barriers being such a problem?
Rather, East Africa is one of the models of the regional trading blocks that we have in Africa and probably in the global south. But the question would be, as much as we are growing in numbers, does that one translate to in terms of growth in our trade, in terms of growth in our development, and all those other economic prospects that the regional integration is supposed to bring? The answer becomes difficult because I know the past speakers, the remarks that introductory remarks that were put here, statistics were given, but I want to reflect on one. If you look at the EAC intra-trade, it ranges between 11 to 15 or 16%. So the EAC partner states tend to trade with the outside world to over 80% than trading within themselves. Reasons and some of the justifications, particularly for the people from the East African Business Council, I think you have this at your fingertips. I'm going to bring those reasons, I'm going to try to condense them. One of the reasons is, of course, the non-tariff barriers. It is easier to make reference, as particularly as we have heard that the EAC Customs Union is operational, and it's really working because we have a reference point. But the non-tariff barriers have a characteristics of being discrete because they are not codified. So you would not say that the nature of non-tariff barriers I'm getting at the Rusumo one-stop border is the same nature of non-tariff barrier I'm going to experience at Gatuna, Mutukula, or any other region, any other border. So they are hidden in a different ways, procedural bureaucracies and so forth. But where do we begin experiencing the problem is when we have instruments, being my background is law, I will have to tie it to the law. We have instruments such as the rules of origin within the EAC. The purpose of rules of origin is supposed to ensure categorization of what we call the economic nationality of the products being produced within the region. But now, for the SMEs and the new entrants in the market, they may not understand, because if you have read the rules of origin, there are a lot of mathematics and numbers there. So understanding this context and concept, when they are difficult, then it subjects to our SMEs particularly not to be able to take advantage of the vast market of the EAC, which we are now boasting to over 350 million persons. So that is one. And the new entrants also experiencing the same. So what should be done, or why would it be so? We are aware that the EAC has what we call the Juakali trade exhibition, annual ones. If you go there, they pass information. But I think they should go a notch higher to establish a reference point at each partner state. The way we have the ministry in charge of the EAC attached in each partner state, the same way we have the registries of the East African Court of Justice in the East partner states, they should, because economic prospects of the region is more important than any other, maybe, or of equal importance with other pillars. So they should have also a reference point, a desk assigned at every East African partner state, so that traders, the entrepreneurs would be able to seek relevant information. Second one, when you talk about non-tariff barriers, we have had some lines to follow, particularly in the integration projections of the EAC. In 2017, the EAC passed the Prohibition of Non-Tariff Barriers Act, and this act is operational. However, there are challenges. The legal and institutional challenges are there. Most of us here, we are from the private sector. The nature of that act requires that the non-tariff barriers are supposed to be monitored at the national level with a panel called the National Monitoring Committee. How that National Monitoring Committee is constituted is that the government agencies appoint or nominate somebody to represent them, and also the participation of the private sector to also represent them. For example, Kenya Private Sector Alliance, for example, the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda. But the question would be, from where you sit, do you know the people who constitute the National Monitoring Committee of Non-Tariff Barriers in Kenya? Do you know the same in Rwanda? If you know, then that is where this conversation should also be pressed and be identified. Going to the bigger, a little bit bigger to the level of the Customs Union, we also have institutional structure where we have the Trade Remedies Committee. This Trade Remedies Committee has been a thorn in the flesh. In fact, there was this conversation I had with other members. The former chair of the East African Business Council, Mr. Kalisa, we were also in a panel like this. And he actually alluded that establishing this particular Trade Remedy Committee has not been, an easy work. So that means that if you have a challenge, for those who understand the rules of origin and already trading between Kenya and Rwanda, the moment you experience a problem, the question would be, where are you going to seek the remedy? The National Monitoring Committee is not functional. The Regional Trade Remedy Committee is not functional. You are left with the East African Court of Justice. And what do we experience there? From the practice, we have even seen that at the level of the EAC, we also lack requisite knowledge on how that court operates. We have seen very good cases collapsing on technicality. For example, the 60 days timeline from the time you experience any matter that concerns the EAC that you are supposed to submit to the court. So you end up, you have a good case, it collapses. Now, all this cumulatively will bring that space, and therefore the non-tariff barriers continue to thrive. Final but not least is something that now internal, and it is always the big elephant, corruption. Because there's no lack of information, there's no transparency, there are those instances where those at the border posts or border points, or even the agents, the intermediaries, clearing and forwarding, and all those players, they may take advantage and now subject you to surcharges and fees that are not prescribed, whereby you cannot even blame the government because they are creating them because of lack of knowledge. And I think those summarized, probably later will add more.
Most of his career has been spent in finance, so it's good to see someone from finance, an outsider, coming into the media space. And Jeff, my question to you is, what role should media be playing, you think, in driving this conversation? I think we're already doing one by having this panel here and having this conversation as Kenya-Rwanda Trade Week. And just for some color there, sometimes you need an outsider to see some of the problems. I feel you're one, coming into NMG, and it's like having a friend come to your house, and some of the things you ignore, and they are quite upfront. They'll tell you, you don't clean your curtain box, think can do a better job here and there. What do you feel should be the role of the media in guiding these conversations?
As they developed their economic blocks, they also developed their financial infrastructure. Finance is very central to the growth of businesses in the region, especially access to affordable finance. And so we can be able to find ways, and I like what I'm seeing, the banks coming regionally, Bank of Kigali in Kenya, Equity, and all the rest in East Africa, to allow for financial intermediation affordably across the region. So we must continuously develop our institutions, especially financial infrastructures, to a level where they can actually, be able to support businesses, especially SMEs, affordable credit. We must build insurance companies to de-risk businesses. We must ensure that our power capacities are strengthened, because you will not be able to do business affordably if all these basics are not in place. So that calls for collaboration in the region, especially ensuring that there's free flow of investments. And I like what Rwanda has done to make investments very easy here. And so I should be able to set up a business where I think there's opportunity, and hence accelerate that. And that's why we are here for this conference. Now, the media plays a very big role in then highlighting some of these things, or bringing them up to the level that we can all appreciate. Now, media for a long time has just been about storytelling, about news, about, and a lot of people think media is an enemy. Media is actually a friend. I think beyond just our storytelling role, which is very central, because we have to give information to publics and different sectors, we have a role to also bring up or try and bring up opportunities and convene stakeholders into forums like this. We have a very powerful convening power in terms of bringing all stakeholders in a room so that these discussions can take place. And I'm glad to say that this is one of the key roles that nation media is doing in terms of putting in place the conveners. The other thing is that we have a very deep research capacity. We can actually go into a sector, analyze, discuss with different stakeholders, and bring out the real opportunity or the real risks sitting in an opportunity. I think information is power. I come from a background of research, so if you don't invest, you can't invest without information. So information is power, and media houses are also very, very critical in achieving that. We're also the window that people see you. If somebody is looking for an opportunity, an international investor is coming, wants to invest into a region, the first port of call will be what's in the papers. What's the news saying about this sector? So we are your window. So if you really want to get your business up and running, interacting with a media house really does give you that opportunity to accelerate visibility and hence enhance your profile and also build your knowledge. So the media industry is very central in business in that we provide those key perspectives. And I think what I want to say is that at Nation Media House, for instance, we're very intentional about going regional and across Africa as well. And so that's why we're doing this sort of conferences. The one key thing that's going to drive success of companies and our audiences is going to be the digitalization of our businesses. You know, we pride ourselves that we have a very youthful population, but let me tell you, there are also a very technology adaptive population. So adoption of new technology in businesses is something we must start embracing, especially AI and all these technologies that are coming through. And we as a media house will be there to also be in the forefront of working closely with the youthful population in bringing out the success stories of companies that are in the region through a very strong digital strategy. So that's really what I can say as part of what I think the media can do to support the growth of businesses in the region. Thank you.
And Kennedy, my question is, you did say, EAC has passed this prohibition of non-tariff barriers. We have a trades mediation, sort of task force in place. But seeing that not work, what exactly is broken within the system that, you have the rules, you have the regulations in place. We know the rules of the game, but we still see, illegal plays or fouls happening and nothing happens, nothing is taken care of.
The highest decision-making organ in the EAC is the summit. Summit is the meeting of the heads of states or the heads of the government of respective partner states. But the question is, does private sector have a permanent sitting? The answer is no. If they attend in the capacity of observers and many other organs, for example, the Council of Ministers, that plays a very critical role. Let me just also bring this. When I talk about the trade remedy committees and these national monitoring committees being dysfunctional, most of the times when we have problems, you mentioned about the border closures, arbitrariness, and particularly during COVID-19, we experienced that so much. When other regional blocs were coming up with a united front to ensure free flow of goods amidst the pandemic, the East African community, they were at loggerheads and they were at, complete dispute. So what happens is that we end up finding that most of the disputes are solved at political level. So in the EAC, the Council of Ministers has more power sometimes than even the East African Court of Justice in that context. Power in that anything that they want to solve, they will solve it and they will go to the press. They say because Kenya blocked this import from Tanzania this way, the ministers have met and therefore the matter has been cleared. But when doing that continuously, what happens? They are treating, for those who have medical backgrounds here, they are treating the symptoms while not addressing the root cause. So we need to have a permanent institutional architecture whereby if a problem arises, we know that it is supposed to be subjected to this particular institution, and therefore the parties expect A, B, C. So I think the system is bad at the very top and therefore comes to eat the very goodies that we are supposed to be harvesting from the regional integration.
What would it take actually to reform the EAC treaty so that everything becomes aligned as should be?
Political willingness, because as I've said, the present architecture has a lot of political, power that drives the decision making. So we need that political willingness from the summit to also look into it. I must say here that the 24th ordinary sitting of the summit last year in November, I was among the most disappointed pro-EAC integration experts because they proposed the amendment of the treaty But when I looked at it, the headline was very nice. The EAC summit proposes the amendment of the EAC treaty. When I went inside, they proposed amendment to the effect that Kiswahili and French should be integrated and be acknowledged. It is good, but we also have other things that they are also aware should be integrated. So that political willingness is required. Two, I refer to what was mentioned here about the role of the media. We are talking about advocacy. We need voices to be heard. The media should be able to, play a critical role. I know at the media house level, you have different reporters. You have the environment reporters, you have economic reporters, you have political reporters, but you have East African integration reporters, those whom you can put for short trainings. We are available. We can pass those trainings.
You've sat across both sides now, so you do understand how both sides work. How can we ensure that then we are collaborating? We are, like you said, some of those missteps in maybe reporting, that we are building closer ties in a sense that we get everything right as media, yes, but we still collaborate, and there's not this fear or this cynicism around media relations with other stakeholders.
What we should do is not take criticism in bad faith. I think media houses just work in the best public interest, and they want to bring out the best. And so I think that level of understanding of what the role of a media house is very important. The media house is also very open to trainings, and I'm glad to hear that the East African community is willing to help us with that, because we want to bring out information that is authentic, that is verifiable, and that's clear. Now, the one thing that we also want to ensure that we do, especially in these conversations, is to really build a very big knowledge, understanding of the role of our key institutions, the East African community, the SCFTA, all these trading blocks. However, there's a very, there's a high limitation of information on what these organizations do. And so I think getting an inside partner to work with us will be very important. A lot of institutions are putting in place media relation actions, which I think is so important, so that there's a very clear engagement among journalists or people with a journalistic view. So to reduce that friction, my appeal is that there has to be more openness, there has to be more transparency. You should be ready to respond to what we're asking for, and also train us, help us inform the public better. But central to everything, no tolerance to corruption.
We have 54 or 55 countries that are now signatories of that. The only exception being Eritrea, so we are all in it. There was a lot of pop and color when we launched around 2021, when we officially this took off, but it's been a slow process. I know a lot of times the cliche is it's always a marathon, not a sprint, but are we still running at a pace that will enable us to get there? Not just saying, it takes some time, it always takes time, but you still have to be on schedule, even if it means 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line. Are we still on course in getting to Africa Free Continental Trade Area?
The AfCFTA can also tap into what the EAC has, such as the harmonized of standards, the customs union, but also having a committee like let's say for the EAC, we have the Nontariff Barriers committee that goes beyond and see in details all these NTBs that our traders are encountering along the way. Other than the National Monitoring Committee that we have, it goes, when it's not solved at national level, it goes to the regional level, then the Sectoral Council of Trade, then later on the summit. So mainly if we can also have such committees at the AfCFTA level, I'm sure that most of the NTBs and other issues that we have in trade and other sectors can be resolved. Other than that, the AfCFTA can also strengthen there are collaboration between countries. So the AFCFTA is there, but I think the market is almost 1.4 million, if I'm not mistaken. So we should tap into these opportunities that are there, have the MOUs to fast track the implementation of AFCFTA. Of course, we cannot liberalize all the product, because at some point, each country, as I said before, they have this protectionism. So, but in terms of trade, the customs is there, the standard boards, those who follow up on all the issues and sectors that are involved, they are there to facilitate. And most of it, I think the Ministry of Trade is the one that facilitate all these and try to have these agencies have the say and facilitate the traders. Let's say if I want to go to a different market under AFCFTA, as you said, there are 54 countries. So our entrepreneurs, our traders, whenever they want to reach this market, they need to make sure that, or a country must make sure that their markets are ready. So we train them in different aspects in terms of standards. If they want to reach this market, they request what are the requirements to reach this market. They come either to the Ministry of Trade, or we have the Rwanda Development Board, or other agencies. So whenever they want to go to a market, there are trainings that are set, awareness campaigns on how they can tap into these opportunities that are there in different markets. Apart from that, I think there is a need of collaboration. So if you are protecting your market, but also need to go to these to other markets, you need to also collaborate, have partnerships. So we organize like exhibitions, trade missions, B2Bs. So these are the aspects or components that the AFCFTA need to tap in and facilitate our traders, our entrepreneurs, to make sure that they go there, they export, they diversify the products. You can really have opportunities in different countries, but also facilitate them. So sometimes there are issues around certificate of origin, the export declaration. So there are a lot of issues in paperwork, customs-wise, but as we go, you learn, and you know how you can target your market next time you want to go there, and make sure that our entrepreneurs are facilitated in a way of making either the national product go away, being known in a different market, but also what do we get from other countries, what do we get from other markets. So there is a need to strengthen collaboration between the countries which are under FCFTA, but also there is the GTI, the Guided Trade Initiative. It's there, and I think so far we've managed to have two, and I think the other one is set next year. So these are quite, these are like platform where our traders can, make sure that the products are known, they know all these requirements that they have to meet, but also the country must make sure that the logistic facilities are there. You cannot enhance the productivity, the production without facilities. Let's say in horticulture, we need to make sure that the post-harvest facilities are there, the cold rooms, the cold trucks, or along the roads are well maintained. So all these aspects are there, and I think the EAC and the COMESA has set a good example. So the FCFTA must just see where to strengthen their capacity and make sure that we implement this market, because it's quite big, more than the COMESA and the EAC. So we should just see how to strengthen the capacity, not only for the traders, but also the capacity of those who work in different agencies, ministries, to make sure that everything needed is there to facilitate traders and make sure that there is smooth and conducive environment for traders. Thanks.
A railway city will be defined by multiple forms of transport offering commuters convenience, safety, and speed.
The government of Kenya has launched an ambitious initiative.
The partnership between the Nairobi Railway, the government of the United Kingdom through UKF, is bringing together both resources and also mobilizing private sector.
In the first phase, we'll seek to upgrade and facilitate the infrastructure linkage